these playscapes are all around us. So we created a passport. So we took people out into the city to experience design, to experience these playgrounds. And of course, we had a couple of playgrounds in the exhibition, and we installed 2 playgrounds, one on City Hall Plaza and one on the Greenway. Did anybody see them? Has anybody seen them? I see a couple of heads. Yeah, awesome. Great. So that was a temporary exhibition. And it was there all summer. And then it got taken away in September and shipped off. It's actually going to be in 4 different cities. It's a traveling exhibition. And it may go further because it's getting so much notoriety. So the one in Chinatown Park on the Greenway is actually going to be permanent because the community there said, you can't take this away. We've had it for 4 months, and it feels like it's a part of our community. It's been the way that people are connecting. It's an opportunity for our children to meet each other, to have their physical activity, right? This is really important to us. So just a real statement of how design actually changed a community.
All right, gang, it's go time. We got our first speaker about to come up. How are we doing with the Legos? Anybody building anything? Is anybody even working with the Legos? We got something happening right here. Very good, very good. So yeah, for the record, before we get with our first speaker, on the trivia question, I have just tweeted out both the list of the buildings and the list of the architects' names. You can find that at my Twitter account is at EBHerwick with the number 3. And it's also hashtag Boston Talks. And there's a screen up here that's got things that are hashtag Boston Talks, so you can check it out there, for those of you who are into trying to win a prize. So building. That's what we're talking about, building. And there's lots of different ways to build things. Design is obviously a huge part of the building process. And Liz Pawlak is the Vice President of Design Museum Boston. She has a background in architecture, passion for education, and I think has a cool job because essentially she has a museum that doesn't have a building. She's going to explain that. Let's welcome her to the stage right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Liz Pawlak.
Awesome, thank you. Great, can everybody hear me? Awesome, so I am Liz Pawlak, and I am, as he said, the Vice President of Design Museum. And I believe that design can change the world. So tonight, in this very short chat that I'm going to give and stay within my time frame, I'm hoping you come away with 3 things. So 1, learn what Design Museum is. 2, believe with me that design can change the world. And 3, have a new perspective on what the future of museums could be. So first of all, just to start, how many of you have heard of Design Museum before? You know of us? Oh, great, that's awesome. Great, so maybe you've come to some events or exhibitions. Awesome. So what is Design Museum? We are a museum of design, right? It's pretty straightforward. So I'm sure all of you know the Museum of Science or Museum of Natural History, art museums, right? So we're just like that. When you go to the Science Museum, you go there to learn about the role that science plays in your life, the importance of it, the value of it, right? We're doing the same thing. We have events, we have exhibitions. We're just focusing on design. Now, what is the difference between design and art and science and all of that? Well, I would say the difference is when the education starts. You learn about science and art way back, right? Like, I don't know when the first art class is or science class is, but I'm guessing it's like 1st grade, 2nd grade, and you kind of learn it all the way through. So the education started a long time ago. Now, I don't know how many of you had a design class in middle school. Design class, maybe 1, maybe not. I didn't. I wish I did, but I didn't. So the education hasn't really been there along the way. But the funny thing is that design is all around us and has been impacting us our entire lives. This is nothing new, right? So what is design? So I just want to point out that really proves the point that we need more education around it. We need a museum, right? So I feel really good about what my job is, and I feel very passionate about it. But what is design? And just for a second, if you all just think, like, what comes to mind when you hear the word design? And I bet you all have something different that pops into your head. Maybe it's architecture, graphic design, user experience design, design thinking, product design, right? So there's all these, those are all right answers. Design is a little different to each of you. But design, at the heart of it, it's everything. It's everywhere, right? It's the buildings that we all work in, that we live in. It's this room. It's this microphone. It's this podium. I don't know if this is like the best design, right? But it's like, it was designed. Someone designed it, right? So every person is impacted by design. Whether they realize it or not is a different thing. But every single person, if you're just think for a second. Can you think of somebody that's like, I don't think design really impacts them. I don't think that's a part of their life. Well, I would argue with you on that one. Whoever is in your mind right now, maybe it's yourself. If you're wearing clothing, right? Fashion design, that's a design. The cars you drive are designed. Everything is designed. So it's all around us. It's extremely important. And good design, right? There is a difference between good design and like design. It's fine. It's functional, right? But that amazing chair that you sit in and it just perfectly fits your body. You know that feeling when you have that amazing design, that shirt that just fits you perfectly, right? It's functional, it's beautiful, it makes you happy. Whatever it is, design, good design, can make you happy, can improve your life, right? It can make you more productive, it can make you healthier. Design can change the world. Design can be very powerful, good design, right? So it's important. So with Design Museum, we do a lot of programming. How do you decide what you do when design is everywhere? And so we have narrowed it down to what we call these 12 impact areas. And they're not just the areas that we see like the most overlap with design or where it makes the most sense to focus on design. We do this based on where design has the greatest impact, where it can create the most change, right? Where it can improve the most people's lives. And so those impact areas are things like healthcare, right? Prosthetics design, product design, healthcare. We talk about business. We talk about workplace innovation. Talk about education, right? These are big buckets that design can have a really big impact and is really important. So we do a lot of exhibitions and programs and events, and so I'm just gonna give you some examples of some of them, right? We've done a lot, so I'm probably just gonna skip over a bunch. But our last exhibition was called Extraordinary Playscapes. It was on the importance of outdoor, risky play, right? And it was amazing. We highlighted 40 case studies from around the world, and then we highlighted, so it was at the Boston Society of Architects, but then we wanted to showcase the city, because if design is everywhere, these playscapes are all around us. So we created a passport. So we took people out into the city to experience design, to experience these playgrounds. And of course, we had a couple playgrounds in the exhibition, and we installed 2 playgrounds, one on City Hall Plaza and one on the Greenway. Did anybody see them? Has anybody seen them? I see a couple of heads. Yeah, awesome. Great. So that was a temporary exhibition. And it was there all summer, and then it got taken away in September and shipped off. It's actually going to be in 4 different cities. It's a traveling exhibition. And it may go further because it's getting so much notoriety. So the one in Chinatown Park on the Greenway is actually going to be permanent because the community there said, you can't take this away. We've had it for 4 months, and it feels like it's a part of our community. It's been the way that people are connecting. It's an opportunity for our children to meet each other, to have their physical activity, right? This is really important to us. So just a real statement of how design actually changed a community. Really, it had an impact, right? So we've done exhibitions on workplace innovation. If you think of the fact that, I don't know if any of you know this statistic, but only 30% of people are engaged in their work. 30%. That means 70% are not. Right? If you look around this room, 70% of you are not necessarily engaged in the work that you do. That's staggering. And then if you think about the amount of time you spend awake and how much of that time is working, this is a really big issue. This is an issue for our businesses, for their bottom line, if people aren't engaged, but it's also really important for the health of each individual in this room, right? Of everyone. So design can change that. Design can make you more productive, right? The physical spaces that you work in, the organizational design, the design of your culture, that can actually improve profitability and engagement and happiness in the workplace. So we talk about that. We have all sorts of exhibitions. We talk about we had one that was called Better Business by Design. And so we actually measured businesses that they rebranded or they had a new website. And then you could see their profit go up, right? There was an actual impact. You can measure the value of design, right? You can look at it from that perspective. We have an upcoming exhibition on prosthetics design, right? Talk about saving lives and the role that design can play, right? So design is really important, and I could go on. We have a lot of things that we've done. But it's really important stuff. And so how can we do all of that? How can we kind of cut across so many different types of events and exhibitions, and how can we be located in so many places? And this is kind of our secret sauce here that makes us stand out, is that we're nomadic. And so we're popping up all over Boston. We are not like the Science Museum or the Natural History Museum or these art museums that say, come to us and learn about this subject. We're actually saying design is all around you, and we want to come to you, and we want to relate to you where design is already taking place. And so this is where the future of museums come in, because other museums are coming to us and asking us, how do you do what you do? How are you out there in the city? It's so successful. And we're happy to tell them. We're happy to share the secret, right? Because there's something really magical about being in the Seaport and in the Back Bay and in Cambridge and Downtown Crossing. We're everywhere. And it enables us to be more accessible, connect to more people, and the opportunity to really learn and to engage is far more successful when it's happening where you're already engaged and you care about. It's your community, right? So there are huge opportunities here. Also, if you think about the number of museums that you go to, how many of you go to a museum multiple times a year? Like, handful. That's great. Awesome. I love it. A lot of times people, maybe they go one or two times a year. They'd love to go back, but they just can't. And so we're able to engage with people multiple times across the year because we are all over and we make it convenient. So it's a real opportunity. So I think there's going to be a trend that you're going to see that more and more of these, if we're connecting it back to the topic, right, the built environment, I think you're going to see more of these museums are going to try to get out into the community as well. And I really support that, and I hope that happens. So those are my 3 things. I hope you hit all of them, right? You know what Design Museum is.
Yes.
You know the future
Yes.
of what museums can be, and you believe that design can change the world.
Liz Pawlak.
Thanks.
Liz, before you go, a couple of questions. So,
Awesome.
you mentioned you guys are doing all kinds of things.
We do.
All kinds of exhibitions, all kinds of places.
Yes.
What do you have coming up, and how do I find out? If I'm sold on this, if I'm like, yeah, I want to do it, I want to go. What is coming up in the near future, and how do I find out about it?
Okay, awesome. So upcoming events, the next event is next week on Friday. I think there's a pamphlet out on the tables. It's an event focused on adding the A to STEM to make it STEAM, and the importance that arts is actually embedded into technology and science and mathematics already. And Steve Vinter of Google is going to be speaking about that, and so the event's actually going to be at Google. We also have an event coming up the week after. It's called Work Well, Live Well. And so it's the importance that the building that you work in can actually make you healthier. So your workplace, the physical space, can make you healthier. So
even when you have podiums like this, that you were just like
It's
slamming our podium?
I'm just saying, it's a podium. It's functional. It's holding your drink.
It's holding my beer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's holding my beer. You know, you talk about the idea of the future of museums.
Yeah.
And I think about museums, even ones with physical spaces. There's a question for museums, organizations like this, on how do they make their money, how do they stay alive. A lot of museums, like our organization, are sort of a membership model. How do you guys stay alive and do what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. We are also membership based. So we have membership. We also, of course, have sponsorship and other things like that. But membership is a way that you can get engaged. So if you become a member, you get to come to all of our events for free. We actually also have a magazine. So all of our members get a quarterly magazine. It's a design magazine. It gets you connected
physical
to the
paper magazine?
Yeah, a physical. So for an organization that doesn't have a physical space, we do have a physical magazine. So
Just disrupting everything.
I know. So anybody who wants to become a member or get more involved, that's a great way to do it. It can be as little as $5 a month, so that's pretty accessible.
Liz Pawlak, everybody. Let's hear it for her.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, our next speaker, continuing our theme of building. And here I think we're talking about building relationships and building communities. So Sheena Collier is the Boston Promise Initiative Director at Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative. So before we do these events, I have some time with the speakers, and I have their bios, and I've talked with them, and I sort of say, all right, when I get up and introduce you, it's hard for me to go through your whole bio and all that stuff. And so, can you tell me what is it that you do, essentially? And Sheena said to me, I think of myself as a social broker, which is a term that I think is really cool. She said, that's it. I'm a social broker making connections. So she's going to explain to us exactly what that means and the work she does. Please welcome to the stage, Sheena Collier.
Microphone right there. Good evening. All right, so I want to start with a question. I feel like the best way to do a talk is actually to make you participate. So I wanted, just by show of hands, how many people out here consider themselves from Boston? So you were born here, raised here? Okay. And then how many folks are from Massachusetts? Not the city of Boston, but from Massachusetts. And then I'm going to assume, but you can raise your hands, how many folks are from another city or another country? So most of the people from here, which is what I thought. I'm so glad, because that sets me up well. So I asked someone today to try to find me some data on how many people that are Boston residents are actually from here, or kind of the inverse, how many people are not from here. And we looked at census and all these different pieces of data, and data is what it is. But generally, there was about a range of 54 to 60% of people in Boston are not from Massachusetts. We couldn't get as far down to Boston, but not from Massachusetts. And so for me, what that means when we're thinking about building Boston from the ground up is that a lot of the responsibility of building Boston is in the hands of people that are not from Boston, like me. And so I have been doing this a couple of different ways. I've been in Boston for about 12 years. And right now I have 3 jobs, 3 ways that I'm helping to build Boston from the ground up. Edgar mentioned one of them, where I'm the BPI, Boston Promise Initiative Director at DSNI. It's a community-based organization in Roxbury. And essentially, my role is to focus on strengthening residents, parents, and young people in their leadership in strengthening their own neighborhood, or really building up their own neighborhood. My other role, and I've been doing that for about 3.5 years, my other role, a newer role, I'm the Director of Strategy and Engagement for the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, and very different from my first role. But the reason why I'm there is because I'm focusing on the business community's role in building up Boston, specifically addressing the income inequality issues and gaps in Boston. Boston is a great city and also was named the #1 city in the country for income inequality. And so the president of the chamber believes that the business community has a role in solving that. And then my third job, our role, is as the founder of Collier Connection, the Collier Connection, which is my own event production company where I'm creating meaningful experiences, partnering with nonprofits and corporations to engage people in meaningful and fun ways. So that's what I do. I feel like it's important to put those things within the context of me not being from here, because I get called a transplant often. For people that aren't from here, this is how I experience Boston people, so I'm not trying to stereotype, but Boston people are very proud and can be territorial, and particularly when you're not from here, doing the kind of work that I'm doing that's very deep in communities, until people know you and welcome you, they can give you a side eye and not trust you, and try to figure out, like, who are you to be coming into the city and saying this is how you should build up community. So to address that issue, I created, just today, hot off the presses, a 3-point plan for transplants to build Boston from the ground up. And so I'm gonna quickly go through it. And then, when you tweet it, please credit me, because I did make these up. So the first one is around not networking, but building community. And so we often go to networking events. We might categorize this as a networking event. But a lot of times, I know for me, over the past couple of years, I've started to equate networking with being transactional or phony, and just really time-consuming. But if you're building community around issues that you really care about, it'll lead to professional opportunities. And so the way that I got involved with the chamber is because I was talking people's ear off about nonprofit industrial complex and how I think we could be doing things differently. And someone said, hey, I think you should connect with this opportunity. So that's the first one, build community, not networks. The second one is really around connecting with people one person at a time. You know, we can continue to do programs, initiatives, et cetera, plans, but at the foundation of all that stuff is really relationships. And none of that is gonna be successful if we don't have actual relationships with people. And so what I did when I came to Boston was try to just create relationships with people. I started a dinner club, I did different kind of organizations that I joined, but essentially I credit a lot of my success here to relationships that I have, not what school I went to, though it helps. I went to Harvard Grad School. And not necessarily any presentation I've done, but really like my relationships with people. So that one is really important to me. And actually, I forgot my third one. Oh, one of the most important ones that I feel like, especially for people that aren't from here, because I didn't know about this before I came, get out of downtown and go into the neighborhoods of Boston. Boston is a very rich in neighborhoods. And if you're not from here, that's not promoted. It's not like part of the brand of Boston, I don't feel like, as someone not from here. And the work that I do in DS&I is place-based, meaning it's about a specific place in a specific geography of people. And they wouldn't trust me if I wasn't really a part of that community. They don't care that I learned about risk and protective factors in grad school and I want to test out theories on them. They want to know that I'm a part of this neighborhood and I really believe in the promise of that community. So those are the three that I suggest. It's what I've learned throughout my time here. I'm sure there are ones that other people have experienced, but get out of just downtown. I love downtown. Get out of just downtown and go into the neighborhoods of Boston, build communities and not just network, and build up the communities of Boston one person at a time.
All right, all right. Don't go anywhere. I have some questions. I have some questions for you. Great job, right? Come on. So sell me a little bit on the neighborhoods. Let's imagine I am not from Boston, which I'm not, but let's imagine I've lived here for a long time, a couple years, whatever, and I've explored downtown, you know, maybe I've explored the Cambridge, Somerville area, and I don't really get outside of that window, that sort of area. What am I missing? What am I missing in Boston?
You're missing awesome restaurants. So I live in Dorchester, and I've lived in Austin, Brighton, Roxbury, Dorchester, Cambridge when I was in school, in Quincy actually. But I feel like there's some good restaurants embedded in the neighborhoods of Boston.
For sure.
There are. I think we're a much more diverse city than people sometimes really realize, and a lot of that is reflected in the foods. I think also just living in neighborhoods where you see different kinds of people all the time is something that can be really refreshing and really important, particularly in times that we are in now. I think it's really important for people to know each other as people.
So I want to continue on that theme because I was listening to you talk and I was thinking about, we're obviously in sort of divisive times. We have, what I think a lot of people would argue is, you know, you have this kind of experience happening right now, which has been for some time though, of people talking about two Americas on many different levels. Rural America versus urban America, white America, black America, rich America, poor America, Republican America, Democrat America, whatever it is, right? I think the income equality thing that you were talking about is at the seed of a lot of that stuff. And I wonder where it sort of feels like, I think generally, at least from the outside on the national stage or whatever, Boston is immune from a lot of this because it's pretty economically wealthy as a city, as a whole. But you're saying we also have a city here where we have great economic disparity, maybe greater than anywhere else in the country. Is there a danger, or is there an experience of that there are two Bostons happening, and is that something that we need to be worried about bridging a gap of? Or is it something that's been existing forever and we're ignoring it? I mean, what's the experience for you as somebody who's been in all of these neighborhoods? Is this a dangerous game we're playing?
Well, to kind of illustrate it, so I talked about the two main jobs I have. So I work downtown on Franklin Street, and then I work on Dudley Street in Roxbury. And I literally feel like I'm in two different cities, 3 days in a week in one city and 2 days in another. It's very just apparent just by seeing the differences in, street cleaning is just really different in those two places. And so, yes, I think it's something that is very real in Boston and needs to be addressed. And you would have to give me much more time to talk about all the ways it could be addressed. But I think that, in short, I would say I went to school for education, and I used to, and I do still really believe that education can be an equalizer. I have expanded my view throughout my career and really see like economic mobility as a thing. So we can continue to take one student out of a family and say, go leave your family and do well, but we actually need to build up neighborhoods and build up families.
All right, final question. Give me, as you said, you could go on for hours about this. Let's say I'm going to myself, you know what? Wow, I just listened to you talk, and it hasn't occurred to me that maybe there's this divide in the city of Boston. What's one thing I can do? Give me one thing that I can do tomorrow, personally, that helps me bridge the divide.
So I would say if you work for a company or organization, or you have access to people that do creating opportunities for young people to get summer jobs, internship experiences, I think that some of the gap obviously starts really young, but internships are one place that are, I heard a great quote the other day. Someone said that the labor market is a social phenomenon. It's not necessarily about skill, it's about your social capital and your connections. And so helping to expand that to people that don't traditionally have those connections.
Sheena Collier, everybody. Our next speaker, MassChallenge. We got some people here from MassChallenge, I noticed, who are not particularly excited. Again, as I was saying before, I sort of asked that question about what is it that you actually do? And our next speaker had an amazing answer too, which she said, I want to help good people do great things, full stop. That's her mantra. That is what her life is about. So she's going to tell us more about what her work is and how that interfaces with her work. Please welcome to the stage, Sumia Hussain.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah. So I'm just going to tell you a bit about my day-to-day, where I work at this amazing company called MassChallenge, which is a startup accelerator and competition. But before I do that, how many of you all know what MassChallenge does? Colleagues, please keep your hands down. Awesome. Thanks, Kara. So I'll tell you a bit about MassChallenge and then what I focus on and how it relates to helping those who are building Boston from the ground up. So MassChallenge is the most startup-friendly accelerator on the planet. What does that mean? So what that means is that every year we run a competition to help 128 companies headquartered here in Boston succeed. And we want to give them the best resources, anything they need, because they are themselves high potential and high impact for success, right? And they can be from any industry. We're a nonprofit, so we're able to help them out and give them tons of resources, make strategic partnerships, and work together with the community and across not only Boston, Massachusetts, and then all around the world to help these companies build products that saves lives, that build products that make the cost of production for different companies better, or they're creating jobs, good paying jobs that help people get off their feet or whatever. And so That's why I'm really excited, because every day I go into work, I'm helping entrepreneurs like Sheena, and entrepreneurs all around Boston and all around the world really get the resources they need to succeed. And MassChallenge is able to do so without taking any equity. So you've seen Shark Tank. It's all about like these guys are sitting up here saying, you have this great product. This is what we're going to take from you. So MassChallenge was founded with the belief that when you put helping entrepreneurs over the values of short-term profit extraction or taking more and more from these early-stage companies, that's when we all win. Helping entrepreneurs win helps us win. And through this competition where we have hundreds of different entrepreneurs apply, we dwindle it down to 128 companies, which the community selects, and then we help them for 4 months in the seaports by giving them access to partners, big partners like Pepsi and Microsoft and Fidelity and Autodesk, as well as partnering them up with government resources in the city of Boston and foundations like the Boston Foundation that really works on equity and economic development and health, as well as just a whole cross-collaboration of different partners. And at the very core of it is that we're just a mission-driven organization trying to help good people do great things. So that's what MassChallenge does. And at the end of this competition, not only are we giving all these resources, we also give out $1.5 million of cash prizes to the top about 10 to 20 companies every single year. And so how long have we been doing this? We've been doing this for 7 years. And now we spread to 5 countries. Our flagship program is here in Boston, and we've helped 1,211 companies raise $1.8 billion in funding, create 60,000 indirect and direct jobs. They've also generated over $700 million in revenue, and we're just getting started, right? So it's just, when I speak like this and I sound like I'm in awe, it's because every day when I go into work, my role is on partnerships, and everything about accounts that I manage or the events that I host are about helping people like Sheena, who's starting her events business, or these high-impact entrepreneurs who are going to create good jobs, make an impact on their community, and then in the end, we're all going to win, right? So as that relates to why I'm here and why is this a good thing for Boston. So for the last 2 years, Bloomberg voted Massachusetts as the #1 state for innovation, which is pretty freaking awesome, right? Yeah, like if you want to start a business, you want to start it here, right? So MassChallenge prides itself in being the most startup-friendly accelerator on the planet, and we want Massachusetts to be the most startup-friendly place to start a business, where government really makes policies to help people start businesses, where people can find the funding that we need. But we want to make sure that even though Boston and Cambridge and this innovation ecosystem is ripe for you to create a company, that you can be anyone from any different walks of life, have different backgrounds, get the same experiences and the chances to succeed here. And so what I'm lucky to do is that I work with the Boston Foundation and the Kauffman Foundation and different community partners to really look at this holistically and help entrepreneurs that might not have access if you're an MIT student or a Harvard student, or have the same social capital, get access to those resources. And so some examples that I would give is that MassChallenge, even though we've helped 1,200 entrepreneurs succeed and accelerated them over the 7 years, we really value diversity not only in gender, race, it's also age and educational background, socioeconomic background. We look at companies based on the fact if they're early stage, so we can help them with their growth throughout. And we also look at if they're high impact as defined by them. And so last year, we're really happy to say that 42% of our cohort of 128 companies were female-founded ventures, which is pretty freaking awesome, right? Yeah. And when you hear statistics like less than 5% of venture capital dollars go to female-founded companies, Boston and Massachusetts overall really has the opportunity, and we're on the precipice of making this place the place to start a business if you're a woman, if you're from a minority background, if you're a veteran. And the goal of MassChallenge is to make these strategic partnerships. We want to work with the community. We want to work with you if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're from a corporate background or your foundation. We'll work with whoever and whatever it takes to help these companies succeed from any background, as long as they want to have a high impact and make a difference. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, Sumia, don't go anywhere. Sorry, I was just eating popcorn. I was caught by surprise. Okay. So, in my estimation, the startup thing is like a huge thing. There's a startup world, right? And I think that that's something that tends to get, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, tends to get conflated is that, the startup means tech, only tech, all tech, right?
Well, at MassChallenge, what our leadership and what we've been very deliberate about is how we define what a startup is.
So talk about that.
So within the 128 companies, we have high-tech companies for sure, right? Softwares, companies. We have clean tech companies. We have companies focusing on healthcare. We also have a social impact track where it's about 10 to 15% of each cohort where we help nonprofits. So if you're a nonprofit, you can apply to MassChallenge and get access to resources. Where else do you go if you're a nonprofit, right? There are amazing organizations like City Awake and of resources available, but we really want to be the aggregator of all the resources that are available and come to the table with, here's the buffet, take what you need, give what you can. We're not going to take anything from you, but be a part of the community in that
But
sense.
essentially, like, if I have an idea,
Yeah.
and I think it's a high-impact idea,
Okay.
and I'm like, I think that this could really make a difference.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be on a phone, or I don't have to know how to code to be able to come to MassChallenge and say, hey guys, I have an idea, let's get this done.
When I say early stage, we've had companies at the idea stage. The application is like a basic executive summary, right? And we've seen companies, and for early stage, our bar is very low in a sense that, are you making less than $1 million a year off of this idea?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
You can apply at this point, right? And then, do you have less than $500,000 of equity-based financing?
Yes, I do.
So why don't you apply to
Thank you for
MassChallenge?
asking.
Applications open February 8th.
Great, I've got a lot of ideas. Cool. One other thing that strikes me is that you call yourselves MassChallenge.
Yeah.
That's a play on, I'm guessing it's a play on mass, the masses, and Massachusetts? Yes?
So when we started in 2009,
Yes.
it was at the depths of the recession. One of the first checks that we got was from Deval Patrick. And at that time, not only do we want to give homage to our home here in Massachusetts and Boston, and the fact that in that very hard economic time, the first vote of confidence that we got was from the government. It's also a massive challenge now, right? We're in UK, we're in Israel, we're in Mexico, we're in Lausanne, Switzerland, and we're gonna grow because what the idea is to create and catalyze a global renaissance where people who wanna make a difference or start a business can get the access to the resources that they need, and the barriers aren't these people who just want to take, but they want to give.
Are there, in the work that you're doing, whether it be what you guys are helping partner with or just where the ideas and applications are coming from, are there places in the New England area outside of Boston, Cambridge that might surprise people where you are like, this is actually like a real hotbed right now for new ideas?
So in the last year, we had about 16 states and 9 countries represented in the class, and we had about 60 countries apply. And then ideas come from everywhere. It's really more of a, have we marketed it well? Are we accessible? In terms of places that we are exploring or seeing a lot of applications from. There are applications and applicants from Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan that are applying to the program, getting in. I know that BeautyLink was one of the companies that I had the privilege of working with through the partnership with the Boston Foundation. They got into the program, and then they won the $50,000 prize. And that's something that is a great, amazing for BeautyLink, because people don't always expect that, right? And that just shows how the Boston ecosystem really supports and can support companies that are grown and raised here.
Sumia Hussain, everybody. MassChallenge. I met Megan Amaral, who is the master model builder at the LEGOLAND Discovery Center Boston. I met her a couple months ago. We did a Facebook Live at the center, and we walked through, and I interviewed her. We went into her office, which is legitimately the coolest office you've ever seen. It's essentially made out of Legos, almost, right? Everything in there is Legos. And I was just like, this job is unbelievable. This is an incredibly strange and interesting job that you would never even think existed. And she talked and told me the story of just the importance of Legos in her life, how she got the job, and I was just like, this is amazing. And ever since then, we were like, we got to get her to a Boston Talks, because she's great. She loves Legos. Everybody loves Legos. And she works as a master model builder for one of the LEGOLAND Discovery Centers, which is incredible. So let's hear from her. Enough from me. Welcome to the stage, Megan Amaral.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I am a little nervous too, so bear with me. I am Megan Amaral, and I am the Master Model Builder at LEGOLAND Discovery Center Boston. So LEGOLAND Discovery Center is an indoor Lego attraction for families and children, and it's all about creating memories and building with Lego. We have rides there too, so you can just kind of hang out and be somewhere where it's all about Lego. I'm here tonight to talk about my job and myself and how building has been a huge part of my life. One question that I get asked the most is, how did I become interested in becoming a master model builder? As a child, no one ever knows that this job exists. I have loved Lego my whole life. I do remember my first Lego set. It was a pizzeria set, and it came with a delivery van and a chef, and it was a whole stand that made pizzas. And I would build for hours in my basement, making towns and buildings and designing houses. I got all my Lego from my aunt. She would buy all the Lego sets for me. My favorite sets to get were the creator sets, where you could build 3 different things out of all the same pieces. And I always built all 3 models. I learned so much from all the different instructions of how to use every piece in tons of different ways. When it came time to think about going to college, my mom suggested architecture. So I have a bachelor's degree in architecture from Wentworth Institute of Technology, though it did not help me answer the first trivia question. No clue. While I was at school, I found that it was the easiest and fastest way for me to get my ideas out, to build it out of Lego. It was just so quick for me, better than drawing it out and on a 2D surface. The 3D part of Lego and just building it up brought my ideas to life faster than anything else. I never built with Lego at school, but anytime I went home, I would test out my ideas with the bricks and see whether or not they worked. Once I graduated, I worked at the Lego store at the Burlington Mall for about 1.5 years. I worked at an architecture firm for about 1 year at the same time. And I worked at a place called Brickapalooza, where we had birthday parties on the weekends, and then we taught after-school classes at schools. We taught science and engineering using Lego bricks. So I had that whole background going for me. One of my coworkers at the Lego store told me about this build-off competition to become the master model builder and said that I should apply. So I fixed up my resume and I applied, and I competed in Brick Factor in January of 2014. So it was literally a build-off competition with timed rounds and a theme given to you right before you started, and you had to do it in front of a crowd and interact with the crowd while you were building. In that competition, I made it to the top 10, but I did not win. I was devastated. This was my dream job, and I knew it. Once I found out about it, I knew that this was my dream. I did get a job as a manager at the attraction and helped to open the attraction. And after working for about a year and a half, the previous master model builder left, so they had another brick factor. So I had to compete. I wasn't giving up on this. And I won. Now, this competition they did inside the attraction. The first round was a half an hour, and the theme was mythical creatures. So I built a unicorn, and she was rearing up on her hind legs, and she had long, flowing red hair. The second round was also a half an hour, and the theme was things that represent America. I built a bald eagle with a nest, and then all the kids that were there wanted me to build a donut because America runs on Dunkin'. That made me a little bit sad, but I did build a donut. I made it to the final 3. There was only 3 of us this time. And the last round was an hour long, and the theme was your favorite character or cartoon. I built Bugs Bunny, because Bugs Bunny taught me all about classical music. And I won. I am the 3rd female master model builder for LEGOLAND Discovery Centers in the world. And at the moment, I am the only female one for the Discovery Centers in the US. I'm pretty proud of that, because I think it's pretty cool. I am the face of the attraction. So anytime we have events like this, or if media come in or interviews, it's on me to do all of that. My office is in the center of the attraction. I have 2 giant windows so that all the guests can see all the things that I'm working on. So I interact with guests all day long as they walk by my window, showing them the things that I've built and the things that I'm working on, and how I do my design process. So I also don't spend all of my time in my office, so I built a few things for my window so that there's something to look at when I'm not there. In one window, I built a tree house about this big, and it is Bigfoot's home. He lives there with his family. In the other window, I have an ocean scene that has moving parts. The ocean scene is about this big, and I move the parts on my side, and the kids can see what's going on in the scene on the other side. So it looks like it's all mechanical and all that. I work off of a build list that I get with due dates and everything. One thing I just finished up was frames for different parts of the attraction. We have frames for activity that we send the kids on, a kind of a scavenger hunt. They're about this tall. They're big frames, and they're themed differently for each part of the attraction. One of the things that I do, this is one of my favorite builds, is this gorilla. We work with the Franklin Park Zoo, and they have a baby gorilla there named Aziz, who turned 1 last May. So I built this to go there to the zoo for his birthday party. And then the zoo came to our attraction and brought some animals for the kids. My other favorite build is the Wizard of Oz came to the Wang Theater in Boston, and we were there for family night. While we were there an hour before the show, I did a live build of Toto the dog in his basket, and I built this before to have something on display. Yeah, they click together. The master model builders are an integral part of the Discovery Centers. Not only do we maintain and build things for the attraction, but we inspire the builders of tomorrow. I talk to kids all the time, I teach classes there, and I bring kids into my office to show them what kinds of things you can build out of Lego. One of the other big parts of my job is our Lego version of Boston. We call it Miniland, and I am in charge of taking care of it, cleaning it, making sure all the people are still standing up, and decorating it for the different seasons and holidays and events that we have. My favorite event are our Lego Star Wars days. So I get to build Lego Star Wars sets and invade Boston with Star Wars characters. We hang ships from the ceiling. We put stormtroopers down the streets. This year we had the Ewok Village in front of Harvard and MIT. And I turned Logan Airport into the ice planet Hoth. It was a lot of fun to do that every year. I build something new for every holiday. I save everything I make so that I can add more and more every year. My favorite build that I did this year was a creepy greenhouse with man-eating plants and a witch who lived there, and anytime the minifigures got too close, she would turn them into a plant. So I had that scene set up at Logan Airport. One thing that I have learned about myself in this job is that I am a very hands-on and visual learner and person. I would rather just go for it and start building than design it on the computer first. For example, when I did these shoes, I brought in one of these shoes to work from, and I just went for it. It's very frustrating. You take it apart and do it again over and over and over to make sure you've got it right. But I would rather do that than draw it on the computer and not work with it in my hands. I'm a big fan of doing 3D art because that's what Lego is. It's a 3D product. For example, this picture here is a hiker, and I've made it into a 3D picture because that's what you can do with the Lego bricks. It gives it texture, and I'm able to give it depth, which is my favorite thing to do. Nothing I ever build is flat or 1D. I always make it a dimensional build. All of the different master model builders have a different way of building. Some of us design similarly. We have same tactics, and I know another one of us, he doesn't use computers either. But there's others that use the computer all the time, and that is how they design. So we all design and build differently, and none of us design exactly the same. Which brings me to the activity that I passed out to a few of you. I passed out 6 bricks and asked some people to create a duck. So those of you who did that, can you hold your duck up in the air for us to see? You can take it out of the bag so that everyone can see what you made.
Is this where I have to come back up because you gave me a duck
I
too?
did.
I got like these, it was crazy. So again, I was saying to you guys, we have this little confab with the speakers before the thing happens. And normally I'm generally in charge of that because we're at the event and I'm explaining. And Megan was like, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you a bag of things. I'm going to tell you to make a duck. And when I talk about the ducks, you come back up on the stage. And I was like, okay, I guess.
So
You're a
your
master.
duck.
You're not just a model builder. You're a master model builder.
So this is Edgar's duck.
This is my
So everyone
duck.
show up your duck. Let's see what you made. Now, I gave all of you the same 6 pieces, and you've all built something a little different. 6 Lego bricks can be put together in over 900 million ways. And yes, someone did do the math. What? 900 million. So those 6 bricks that you have. Yes.
900 million.
And if you think about it, there are over 11,000 different pieces of Lego brick pieces, and more being designed every year. It's just endless possibilities.
Wow.
I can show you my duck too.
That's a pretty good looking duck.
So the one thing I would want you to take away from this is that no matter how you build with the Lego bricks or how you design your build, it's not going to be wrong, right? You can build whatever you want. I know that a lot of people have been building things with the bricks on the table. So those of you who have, can you hold those up in the air?
Let's see it. Let's see your Legos. Lego.
Let's see your builds. Hold it up in the air.
Yes, yes. Round of applause for the builders among us.
We have a few master builders among us.
Megan Amaral, everybody. All right, before I let you go, I have questions.
I have answers.
First is this. So how many different kinds of bricks and stuff did you say there was?
Over 11,000.
All right, 11,000 different kinds
Different
of bricks.
pieces, different
pieces,
types
yeah.
of pieces.
So, what is the most indispensable piece to you? What is the one Lego piece of the 11,000 that you could never live without?
So it's called a snot brick, which stands for studs not on top. So there are pieces that have studs on the top of the brick.
The
but
studs are the
also
little
studs,
circly guys?
Yep, the little bumps on the brick. And there are also studs on the side of the bricks, which let you build in all different directions, like in here.
Oh, this interfaces with your love of the 3D thing, because without
Yes.
those, you couldn't build out with depth.
So these are built out this way with the studs facing you. But then there are pieces in this part that have studs that go this way. So I could build in another direction.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, so Lego, something that a lot of us played with when we were kids. Kids and families, as you said, is a big part of what you do at the LEGOLAND Discovery Center Boston. I am a grown-up. I want to go to the Discovery Center. Can I do that?
Well, yes, you can.
Tell me more.
We have adult nights at our attraction once a month, 7 to 9, usually on a Wednesday night. Our next one is next week, Wednesday, with a theme, no kids allowed, only adults. We sell beer and wine in our cafe.
So adult nights, there's no kids?
No kids.
It's not a family night, it is like
It's adult night, yes.
And you said you sell beer and wine?
Yes, we do.
So drunk Lego building is what this is about.
We do have a way to limit your drinks. Our theme for next week is a celebration of pop culture.
So what does that mean?
We're going to have a photo booth set up with a few things that kind of go along with pop culture. I built a prize for one lucky guest.
Can you divulge what that is, just in secret to just us here?
My marketing team says I cannot.
Ooh.
It's a secret. You'll have to
Ooh.
come see.
All right, I tried. So is the master model builder job, is that like being on the Supreme Court? Is it like yours until you die? Is it a 10-year
Yes.
term? What's the deal?
I have it until I quit or get fired.
Well, I would say from what I've seen here tonight, there's no way on this earth that you're getting fired. Let's hear it for one more time. Megan Amaral. So we're going to take a short break. You guys hang around. Just hang around. Are we going to bring them up right now? All right, we're going to bring everybody up, all of our speakers up so if you guys are, here we go. Bring them up. One more round of applause for all of our speakers. And I'm going to basically open up the floor here to the folks who have been listening. And if anybody has lingering questions for the panel, for any of our speakers tonight, put your hand up. I will come to you if I can. And if not, we're just going to get them kicking off, talking with each other a little bit for a few minutes here. Anybody? Yes, we got a huge hand up in the air right here. What's your name?
Julia,
Julia. Where are you from?
Dorchester, Boston. Building Boston, here we go. So, question, in terms of building, what would you see as potential opportunities for you all to build together?
Ooh. Multiple kinds of building. How do you bring them together? Pass the mic around. I'm going to give you one of them. Jump in when you want to jump in.
I can talk to that. So, for example, we have an upcoming exhibition that's all about diversity in design and the opportunities around different design-oriented careers. So we're talking about people that you think of two industries that you don't think are design-related, and I can find a designer in them, and really highlighting the lack of diversity or the diversity that exists in these design careers. So I feel like all of you touched on different aspects of that, and we were actually, a coworker of mine is here, and we were like, oh my gosh, all of these people, we need to be talking about this after, because I think that there's huge opportunities to work on that together and highlight, even just the people standing on the stage with me tonight in that exhibition, and figure out other people that we should be highlighting as well. So that was an easy one, so, for me.
I think we should all go to adult Lego night. But also, just as I've been listening, one of the things, particularly listen to Megan, but really to everyone, I always think about, how do young people find out about these type of jobs? How do we expose, like you said, who knows they could be a master model builder or help people to start up companies or work on design? You don't know that. And so I think that's definitely a way we could all connect, is making sure that everyone in the city has access to these opportunities.
Good answers. Great question. We got another question coming over here. Here we go. Don't take it from me. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Kara. I am from MassChallenge, and I have a question for the four of you collectively. So it might take some time. I want the four of you to gather and say what is one word that describes what Boston should be focusing on over the next 12 months, and then maybe a sentence max to describe why we should do that. So you can take some time as a group to collectively discuss.
All right, so you got that. So the group is going to discuss for a moment. They're going to come up with, let me alter the question. I'm going to say, don't come up with a word, come up with a phrase and a sentence, because I think a word is probably maybe difficult. Let's go a phrase and a sentence, or a term and a sentence. While they're doing that, does anybody else have it? Let's do the answer to the question, which I never quite got the. What? Oh, everybody's got guesses. Everybody's got guesses, but I didn't get a right answer. They're discussing. I'm going to give you I lost. What's the papers in one of the? Here we go. Nope. He's like, we got it. We know the answers over here. All right. So does anybody have a final guess? There's a lot of noise coming from the corner there. Tell you what, because you've made 4 guesses, you're getting the LEGOLAND passes just for sheer. What's your name? Marty. Marty comes to a lot of these Boston talks, and Marty's tenacity. Every time we do a trivia question, Marty's gotten them right in the past, and he's also. I mean, he stays at it. So for sheer tenacity and stick-to-itiveness, Marty, ladies and gentlemen. And you were close on the last one. He had, I think, 4 out of the 6. So here's the final thing. In order of the years that they first opened, we had number 1, the Massachusetts State House, which a lot of you got as the first one. Number 2 would have been the Bunker Hill Monument, which opened in 1843. Fun fact about the Bunker Hill Monument: basically there was a contest. About 50 people submitted to the contest, and ultimately the winner was picked. And that person got paid, can you guess how much for the design of the Bunker Hill Monument? $100. $100. After the Bunker Hill Monument, 1877, the opening of Trinity Church on Copley Square. That was built out of Dedham granite. Dedham granite named after the town of Dedham, which has a lot of Dedham granite in it. And apparently, maybe the architects can tell me if this is true or not, Plymouth Rock is also a piece of Dedham granite, which had been sort of washed out and toward the coast. After Trinity Church, we have 1900 Symphony Hall. After that, 1903, Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum opens. And finally, last on the list, 1912, Fenway Park. Good job, everybody. Thank you for playing with those ridiculous trivia questions that I had tonight. Appreciate everybody who participated. What do we got, ladies?
So we came up with 2 different things, but we're going to weave them together because we are builders here. And so what we said was one phrase would be not only focusing on community, because we all come from very community-based, community-focused organizations, but highlighting and storytelling. We are at WGBH and telling our stories.
Yeah.
And Boston, in the sense, is always going to be the city on the hill, and all eyes are watching. So when we're building community and we're going out there and trying to make a difference by weaving us as a community together, how are we highlighting the stories of success, and how are we telling how we share together and come together, so others can see that either as an example or we can learn from them.
All right, let's hear it one more time for our speakers. That's it for us. Sheena, Liz, Sumia, and Megan. Thank you guys for coming to Boston Talks. We'll be here next month.
I had poured all this effort into this. I had really had everything riding on making the Olympics. I thought I was going to make it. And after coming back to the dock and sitting down on the grass, kind of just realized that this whole crazy dream had come to an end.